The views expressed on the following program do not necessarily represent those of this station or its management.
It's time now for Where You Live with Gene Sullivan, the show that deals with the news and events that affect you the most. Whether you rent or own, live in an HOA, single-family home, or an apartment building, Gene will tackle the issues right where you live. So from the Natural Green Lawn and Landscape Studios, here's the original man of steel, Resolve himself, who stands for truth, justice, and the association way. Here's Gene Sullivan.
Good morning. Welcome to Where You Live. I am Gene Sullivan. I also want to say good morning to my board op, Chris Wider Puberty. How are you, Chris?
I'm great, Gene. How about yourself?
I'm great. Can you look something up for me?
Absolutely.
There is a town called Hell, Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
What's the temperature today for Hell, Michigan?
It is 67 degrees.
That seems kind of strange. It's a little bit cooler, but not that cold.
Mm-hmm.
Usually you've heard the phrase, that'll happen when hell freezes over. I always check Hell, Michigan when I hear some really outlandish claims. First story we're going to be dealing with today, there was a homeowner who doesn't live in an HOA, but they were bemoaning the fact that they wish that they had, because if they had lived in an HOA, they would have been helpful. I usually don't hear those kind of comments, but that's good to know. So Hell, Michigan, 66 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
Cool, but not frozen over by a long shot.
Got a ways to go.
Well, folks, hey, thanks for taking some time to be with us today on Where You Live. We are broadcasting from the Natural Green Lawn and Landscape Studios. Remember, Natural Green is a locally owned and operated lawn and landscape care company. Their mission is to use the most environmentally sensitive products available to keep your lawn and landscape looking lush and beautiful while still healthy for both people and pets. Whether you choose their organic program or their traditional program, rest assured they are always using horticulturally sound principles for some great results. Call them at 763-213-2410. We're also brought to you by Extreme Exteriors and American Family Insurance, the Kim Bennett Agency. Well, let's talk about that first story, shall we? And we'll begin with property management in the news. Property management in the news is brought to you by Home Furniture and Abbey Floor Coverings. Their showrooms are staffed with professionals who will help you choose what you need to fit both your lifestyle and budget. Whatever you need, chances are they'll have what you're looking for. Now, if you wish to avail yourself of special pricing and discounts you won't find anywhere else, all Where You Live listeners can call Customer Service Coordinator Lori Matson at 952-224-2663. That's 952-224-2663, and ask for your Where You Live special pricing. Well, let's talk about that first story, and this is from Fountain, Colorado. And folks, you may have heard this earlier this week. We're talking about a story about a family, husband and wife. The Geisiks have a 16-year-old daughter. I believe her name is Kirsten, and she has cerebral palsy and is in a wheelchair. Well, the Geisiks had a brand new home built for them in Fountain, Colorado. And when the builder built their home, they also put in addition, a ramp that goes up to the front door so that they can wheel their daughter, who's in a wheelchair, in and out easily and having access to the home. Well, apparently what's all, got people up in an uproar about this whole thing is that it's their neighbors. Their neighbors apparently are trying to sell their home, and for some reason they've got in their mind that the fact that the Geisiks would have a ramp in front of their door, that this is somehow going to negatively impact property values, and they've got, like I said, their home up for sale. I'm sure it's probably not the the pink flamingos that the neighbors have in their yard. It's probably not their 1980s wonderful interior decorating design that they have. Oh no, it's got to be this ramp. And so what did they do? They asked the Geiziks to have it taken down. Now, what's interesting to me, of course, is the news article, because the writer said neighbors harass the family with handicap ramp over property value concern. And boy, I talk about this quite a bit, but one pet peeve that I have is that if we're ever going to have a calm discourse about anything, we've got to watch out the kind of words that we use. And for this news reporter to use the words harass, really? When I think of harassment, I'm thinking of someone who is repeatedly with great effort and measure going out of their way to not only bother someone, but I mean, it's a legal definition. Maybe they should have said that they complained. That would be a better word. But sometimes, it's kind of hard to be able to have a conversation when words are used that just kind of get you emotionally charged all of a sudden. It's just like, for example, I know this happened to a young couple one time. They were getting ready to go out to dinner. The wife is getting ready in the bedroom with a few last-minute items. Husband walks in, looks at her. She turns and says, "What are you gawking at?" Now, that is communicating a specific message. She also could have turned and said, "You know what? I know I'm feeling pressured here because we're late. Could you just go out of the room because it's making me nervous?" Both are saying the same thing, aren't they? But one is just so much more emotionally charged, and that's what we have here too. Neighbors harassing the family. I don't know if it's harassment, because if that was taking place, the Geiziks probably would have recourse with the police department. But what has happened, what we do know has happened, is that these neighbors, as ignorant as they were, they came to the Geiziks and they said, "We think you ought to tear down this ramp because we think it's going to have a negative impact on property values, namely my house that's on the market right now," which is a silly notion. Well, guess what? The neighbor, of course, didn't get the answer that they were looking for. So what did they do? They turned to the builder. The builder is just trying to build homes for people who want homes in that neighborhood. And there are a number of other lots that were still available. By the way, that could also be a reason why these people couldn't sell their home right away. If you're in an area where there's a lot of brand new homes that haven't been lived in yet once, and there's lots that a builder can build on spec so someone can get the home that they want, why would someone want something pre-owned for a year or so? So I think there might be some other issues here. It's not the Geiziks ramp that they have. If you take a look at pictures online too, they did a great job too in the construction of this, and there's nothing at all that takes away from the value. What you have, again, is a case of someone who's ignorant, crass, maybe short-sighted, but it's obviously not the ramp that is their concern. But what is happening here is the Geiziks were interviewed, and of course they're concerned because they said, we're concerned because we're going to be taken to court over this matter. This person's threatening to sue us. And I guess I wanted to comment about that article here this morning, this story, because number one, I guess I want to say to the Geiziks, I don't think you're going to have any concerns. Because, for one thing, when the house was built with the Geiziks and with the builder, there was approval to have everything designed and built the way the Geiziks had their home built, including the ramp. So it met with all of the city ordinances with the city of Fountain, Colorado. So number one, I guess, Geiziks, if you were talking to your neighbor, I would just respectfully say to them, well, I'm sorry you feel that way, but if you disagree, why don't you go to the city of Fountain, talk to the city inspectors, talk about the zoning ordinances and what is allowed and not allowed, because your beef is with them, not with me. Number two, it's the idea of the reasonable accommodation. We all know, and we've talked about this many times before on the show, if this were a homeowners association, and even in that case where the association does have what's called architectural control and being able to tell homeowners what can and cannot be changed to the exterior of homes in an HOA, we all know for a fact that HUD and the ADA allows for what's called reasonable accommodation. And that's the idea that you must allow what would be considered an accommodation that's reasonable. And it's reasonable in the case of an HOA to say, well, that's fine. Go ahead and put the ramp on there. However, when you're ready to sell the home, we would just ask that you have it removed by the time that the sale is completed and return the front to its original condition. That's a reasonable accommodation to make to someone who needs that. But that's living in an HOA. As far as I can see here with this story, we're not talking about an HOA at all. So there is even a greater latitude. And so I would say that, guys, you probably don't have anything to worry about at all. And lastly, I guess the last point I'd like to make, and this would be to the neighbor of the Geiziks here, really, are you going to be complaining about something that you're saying is taking away value, but you haven't sold your home yet? And as far as I can remember, I'm not an attorney, and I'll quickly state that, but with what I've heard from legal counsel over and over again, if someone's going to make a lawsuit making some claim that they have lost money, you have to be able to show and prove somewhere, somehow, that something actually has been lost. And as far as I can tell, as long as the home hasn't even sold, we don't even know what it's gone for, let alone what this person is claiming that they've lost. So I don't think they've got a leg to stand on, but certainly not because it is something that is allowed. So, Geiziks, we wish the best for you and hope the neighbor finally gets to their senses here quickly. Well, hey, we're going to take a break right now. Don't go away. We've got a lot more of Where You Live after these messages.